Hello, Internet, and welcome to the International Writers Fellowship on the 22nd of July. This time next week, I will be a year older. I'm going to be 41 on Saturday. I feel every minute of it.
Happy early birthday.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you. Yeah. How's everybody doing?
All right.
Good. Erica, Gary, have you noticed anything about our little setup? We have somebody new with us today. We have my very good friend, Kroko M. Kroko is painfully professional and shoves out so much. Right? I mean, I think you said to me a couple of days ago that you'd written the better part of 300,000 words this year already. Is that right?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's like it said something like 247,000 or something.
Yeah, but that was just the fanfic, wasn't it? And
yes,
you'd written your novel on top of that.
Yes, on top of that.
So, but obviously you can tell us a bit more about yourself. But you write urban fantasy. You've written some officially licensed Marvel content. You keep yourself busy.
That is a great word for it. I am very busy at all times. So yeah, I've written and published 11 books. I'm in several anthologies by Milton J. Davis, and then I have 2 anthologies from Marvel Comics that I have short stories in, which are Black Panther: The Tales of Wakanda, and then Captain America: The Shield of Sam Wilson, which they moved out to January for the new release date. But yeah, I write mountains and mountains of fan fiction on top of all the other stuff I do. That is my therapy.
We're not going to ask you what kind of fan fiction you write. We're just going to let people know that it does involve the Winter Soldier.
Yes.
That's just
one of my bestest friends ever. Oh my gosh! Like I would guess maybe potentially probably read some of yours because that's his favorite.
I was going to say by now, if you've been reading it within the last, because that's the funny part. Like I wasn't attracted. I liked Bucky, but I wasn't attracted to Bucky until the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show. Like I think it's just because it just finally let him. He got to talk. I was going to say up to that point in the MCU, he had like 12 lines. So
fair.
I didn't really know anything about him, and then we got to that, and
they
then
gave him a better haircut as well.
Yes, I was going to say I like the haircut. I really do. So yeah, no, if you've been reading it over the last year or so, no, you'll probably have come across something I wrote.
And we've already got many
oh my god, our chat.
Yeah, so Charlene, Booney, Chaz, Jules, thank you for being here. I don't know what happened last week. There was nobody here for the whole.
It was our topic. Our topic was terrifying for people.
We didn't go on to the topic we thought we were going to talk about. So, and we're not going to talk about it today because Gary's here. But it was going to be the stuff that we're not going to talk about when Gary's here. So, before we get... one thing to mention actually with Kroko is the vast majority of your publishing, your writing has been self-published. It's so... yeah, I've no doubt we'll go into that in a moment. First and foremost, though, let's do cards. Erica has a lovely new deck that she's keen to show us. So let's.
So I opted to. So this is a deck that I backed on Kickstarter. But it was still awesome to watch out. Thanks, Jules. We had fun chatting last week.
Yeah, fun. Yeah, I mean,
I had fun chatting last week. We'll say that. So this is a deck I backed on Kickstarter by Jay Feinberg. It's called Dice, Bones, and Gemstones. I did not back the one with like the box, so mine came in a bag because the box is like, I don't know, it's always like so much more, and I don't mind the bag. So
Kroko, just so you know, basically because we've all got masses of tarot decks. I mean, I've got 16 just down
Wow.
here, and I've got 7 more on the way. Yeah, we just use it as an excuse to pull a card and reflect on our writing and what we can do and stuff. It's basically so that we think we say, oh no, I bought those things for a reason. I didn't just throw money at Kickstarter for no reason.
Well, and with this card, you'll see exactly why I backed this deck.
Oh god. Okay.
So this is the Golden Griffin. And they're like D&D themed or dice. They have dice.
Oh my no. This is no.
Okay.
Why would you show me this?
I don't know. So this is the Golden Griffin, Good Fortune. This famous beast has acted as a strategic advisor to everyone from great rulers to humble peasants. While small in stature, the Golden Griffin is blessed with both incredible luck and amazing mental agility. Oddly, one can only encounter the Golden Griffin when they are not looking for him or expecting to see him at all. Anyone set on a quest to find him, even with powerful magical aid, has failed. He is considered further good fortune at the birth of male children or those who have just moved into a new house. Children gifted Golden Griffin feathers are destined to do great things in their lives. This has made such feathers incredibly rare and sought after items.
Okay. Not sure how to say that one. So is it trying to say that now's a good time to start to birth a new idea? Is that, I don't know, how did people interpret that one?
For me, what I got from that was like my ideas typically my ideas for writing come when I'm not looking for them. Like my biggest sparks of information or inspiration.
I like that.
Like, dragons smoking cigars.
Yeah, good point.
It could be also like a sign to, like, if there's a project that you were hesitant about moving on to, maybe that's how you interpret it, that is a sign to, that thing that you're not sure if you should start it, maybe you should start it now, because it said good fortune for people moving. Yeah. Even though they meant physically moving, of course.
So kind of just jump in rather than, sometimes it's tougher to look than to leap. So just, yeah. How about yourself, Gary? You got any thoughts on that, or are you just sitting there? You look pensive.
No, I mean, a lot of what you all said is true. For me, when I sit down, if I allow myself to unfocus, it's when things come. But when I try to really say, okay, I'm going to write this, it's oftentimes I end up hitting brick walls.
Yeah. But I do like Chaz's mention. Oh, sorry, of Pokemon here, because it did. It looked like a very cute Pokemon. I will grant you that, Chaz. I would collect that monster, especially if it came with the dice. So, being as we have Jules here, who I know is very interested in the publishing world, and Gary, I know you've spoken about self-publishing a few times, and Erica, you expressed an interest in self-publishing. Well, if it seems reasonable that we should ask. Looks like we may have lost Gary. So, Kyoko, tell us a bit about what you write, why you write, how you write, and then ultimately, if you feel you have time, what the self-publishing journey has been like, because I've been published, obviously with the book, but several short stories, but they've all been published by somebody else. I've never actually self-published anything, and you and I have spoken about it quite a lot, and so forgive me, everybody else, if I just assume that we've spoken about something, because Kirk and I talk every other week just about, so like we've had this conversation before. But yeah, tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. So I started out after I wrote The Black Parade, which is my first book. I was actually querying agents for about 2.5 years. And then when I got to the end of about 2.5, I had racked up quite a few rejections by that point. And my dad, this was in, about 2011-ish. And my dad said, hey, self-publishing is starting to really take off now. And he was right, because that was the decade where it was most profitable. The 2010s was about where a lot of self-publishing really started to get pushed out. And he said, why don't you just kind of research and see if there's something you can do? And I went, oh, okay, cool. And so then I got advice from one of my mentors, Joffrey Thorne, who writes comic books. He writes for Green Lantern. He wrote Mosaic. He's written... he's in for Marvel and DC. I just can't remember who his other than Mosaic, I forget who his other Marvel character was. But anyway, he introduced me to the Writers Cafe on kboards.com, which is basically a forum that has all of the information that's related to publishing that you could possibly think of. I mean, 90% of the time, if you have a question, it'll be somewhere on that forum. So then I did like a hardcore research of that for probably 6 months to a year or so. And I said, oh, okay, I think this is viable. Like, I should be able to figure this out myself. And so the cover was actually on, I think it's called CrowdSpring, if it's still there. So CrowdSpring is this little website where if you're new, this is really great, especially since I didn't know anybody yet. I hadn't met anybody in the industry. And so what you could do is you commission a book cover on that website. So what happens is you describe everything that you want the cover to look like, and people basically bid to have the ability to make your cover, and they send you a mock-up of what they've made, and then you pick the one that you want, and then that person gets the amount of money that you offered. So I think for my first one, it was like maybe $350, something to that effect. And that's how I ended up with the first cover of The Black Parade. And then after I got that, I moved on to all the other stuff. So creating a website, setting up social media accounts, and then just learning all of the advertising and marketing things that can move copies when, again, one, this is your first book, and two, if you don't have a following already, it's way hard. So again, I did not make any money for the first 2 years. Just because it's so much learning. You just have to learn, because again, you go, oh my God, I wrote a book and I put a cover on it, I put a blurb together. Oh my God, everybody's gonna love me. No one knows it's there. So
we love you.
Yeah, it's tough at first, because again, it's you think because it just exists somewhere that people will naturally stumble across it. That is so not a thing. You have to actually direct people to your book. It sounds like it should just happen naturally. It doesn't. And so in 2015. There was a really, really nice author who I was talking to on Kboards, and she said, okay, well, here's something I think that might help you, because again, at that point, I was still not selling anything. And she said, okay, well, why don't you take a particular, maybe a short story collection and use that as something to help sell the first book. So you take that. And so I wrote a short story collection. It's probably it's like 200 pages or something. It's not terribly long. And so they were all short stories that were taken from The Black Parade. And so she said, okay, well, why don't you sell that as a way to get people into the series? Because what you can do is set it for free and then just continuously promote it on different free book websites. And so when I did that, that's when it started to pick up. Because I think I don't remember if I set it for free or if I just put it into KDP Select for the first several years. But it being in there, KDP Select is kind of like a book subscription type deal. So you pay a monthly subscription fee, and then you get access to this large database of books. And as an author, you're paid each time somebody reads a page. And so at the time, back in the 2010s, it was really, really rigorous. And also the payout was a lot better than it currently is, because it's based on how many authors are inside of that pool of books, and whatever the fund is like a collective fund that they pull out. And so they pay you based on month-to-month changes on, various things. Who knows what their metrics are? But yeah, after that book is when I kind of, by then I had started to get my feet under me, and I was starting to understand the actual process of the different things you can do to sell books. And then after, yeah, I kind of got the hang of it by about like maybe my third novel or so. And so really each year it kind of is just like a cycle. I go through writing a manuscript, and then I go through editing, and then I go through all of the stuff that I do with the advertising and marketing to kind of get some more eyes on it, that kind of stuff. So that's me.
And obviously I know what your stories are, but just to make sure that everybody in the chat is as pumped for your writing, what exactly is your series? What kind of things do you write?
So I've got two
dragons, basically.
Oh, of course. So the first one, my debut novel, was The Black Parade, and that is about, it's the log line I use when I'm at cons is Constantine with a grumpy Afro-Latina woman with a drinking problem. And Constantine as in Constantine the movie. I know that movie is nothing like the comic, the Hellblazer comics. That's okay, because I was like, that's fine though. I thought it was really good. And so that one is about Jordan Amador, who accidentally kills a seer, who is somebody who can see ghosts, angels, and demons. And she gets sentenced to help 100 souls cross over, or her soul's going to hell. So that series that's what about that. And then the other series that I write is basically Jurassic Park with dragons, but for the purpose of conservation instead of profit. But those are the two main ones that I write. Anything else is like short story anthologies that I've submitted stuff to.
And I don't know if I'm allowed to mention your latest attempt, am I?
Yes, I was going to say, so we don't have it. I can't, none of the info is available yet, but no, I have a trilogy contract with Falstaff Books, and I finished book 2 yesterday. The first one we think is supposed to be in the fall, but like I said, because John runs everything himself, it's slow on updates. So at some point, I think in the fall, it's supposed to come out. The first book for that one is supposed to come out, but until I have cover or any other info, it'll just take a while.
And excuse me, Erica is a huge fan of the fan fiction, and when you told me that number yesterday, so how did you get into writing 250,000 words of fan fiction in the first half of the year?
I was going to say the first half of the year. It's called stress. I'm stressed out all the time.
Right.
Just
okay.
24/7. So all of that's why it's so high.
Do you think that might have something to do with the fact that you write 250,000 words in 6 months?
No, it's the opposite. It was like the reason I wrote all those words is because I was so stressed out. I have a full-time job, and so therapy is available to me, but I'm 0 for 2 on therapists. I'm not very good at finding them apparently, so I'm just taking another break until I locate one that I think is on the same wavelength as me. But no, that's why it's so high. It's like every time I get upset, I just go, gee, I want to write about Bucky Barnes pounding me. That's what happens. That's how you get a word count that high. It's like every time I turn around, something in my life is even worse. So it's just like, I just type it out. That's all I can do to just, get the tension out of my brain.
So, I mean, how did you discover that though, as a thing? Were you writing fanfic before you were writing your own stuff?
Oh yeah, that's sort of one of the things that was my epiphany my epiphany for writing was when I went to University of Georgia, and this author by the name of...
So now Jules is going to start writing stuff about being pounded by Bucky Barnes, evidently. So
good. I'm glad. I want to corrupt everyone. Yeah, so this author named Jackson Pierce came and did a lecture when I was at UGA, and I was like, oh my God, I can write books for a living? Why did I not think of that? And so like literally it just didn't hit me until she said it. Because her lecture was, she's traditionally published. And I think her debut novel is Sisters Red, but I don't remember if that's 1 or 2, but anyway, she writes like fairy tale retellings. And so, but when she did that lecture, she was just talking about the process and how she was able to get an agent and how she wrote the book and just different things. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I had been writing my whole life, but I didn't think of it in that capacity. Like I would write Every once in a while, I'd write some kind of story, even if it didn't really go anywhere. But me and my friends wrote fan fiction literally since sixth grade. That's how long I've been doing it. It's just part of my personality. Now, that's why my pseudonym is Kroko M. Is that we used to write little original characters and put them into fan fiction, and then we called each other by those characters' names. And literally, I went 20 years being called Kyoko by two people that I was really close to, and so I literally in my head I'm Kyoko. That's just
and that's what I call you. I mean, it's because we met on Continual, the con that never ends. Again, it was Batman. We decided was the first one, but we've done a few other, and yeah, it was just. There's a weird disconnect whenever you come up on Facebook. It's like that's not an fair enough.
I know. Technically, I could update my Facebook name, but I would just go, it's going to confuse everybody even further. So, and like I said, I'm not one of those people where I don't tell people my legal name. It doesn't affect anything. I have a pseudonym because of what I just explained, which is I had friends and that's what they called me. And now I identify as it. It's not one of those like, oh, I don't ever want anybody to know that I write this specific stuff. Like I don't have like a super conservative or super Baptist family that's ashamed of what I write or something. It's just because I don't like my legal name. That's it. I just don't like the way it looks.
Fair play.
But the other thing people like to ask me a lot, just because it's rare, is about the two Marvel anthologies. So I'll just recap that real quickly. So how those came about is that one of my colleagues, Dr. Glenn Paris, he's friends with Jason J. Holland, who's the editor of that the first anthology, which is Black Panther Tales of Wakanda. And they were almost done with the entire
pick up your copy wherever you can find it. It's excellent.
And it's in every format, by the way. But so what happened is they had most of the authors that they wanted for the collection, but they were trying to round out the numbers. And so they were like, oh, okay, well, why don't we take some recommendations? And so he and I had met at a previous con some years back, and he submitted my name. And so they contacted me and said, hey, well, are you interested? And I was like, hell yeah, this is literally like my dream is to write for you. And so by that point, like I said, because they had most of the stories already, they went, okay, well, here's a list of characters that you can write about. We've already got these characters. They've all been chosen and they've all got their stories. So don't pick any of them. So here's the folks that you can choose from. And I was like, perfect. Because I actually wanted to write about Okoye because she's my favorite.
I read that. And I just, because obviously yours was the first story I went straight to. I was like, how on earth did you get Okoye? Because she is easily the coolest one out of the whole lot of them.
She's so cool. I love her. Oh, she's such a cool character. So I think that most of the other people focus on Shuri, T'Challa, the Bashinga, and I'd have to check if somebody wrote one about Nakia. I'd have to look because it is based on the comics and not the movie, even though I picture the movie anyway. But yes, that's the difference. So I did have to write about comic book Okoye and not Denai Guerrera, even though I was picturing her the whole time anyway. And so so I picked her, and then I picked a story, and I think I pitched them maybe 3 of them, and they picked the one that they like, and they said, okay, go ahead. And I wrote the whole thing in about 2 weeks, and I sent that back to Jesse. And so I wait a little bit, and then he sends it back, and he said, okay, yeah, they approve. They want it. They want to publish you. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Sign your contract and all this other stuff. And so what was wild is that after I sent it in and after I signed the paperwork and got paid for it, I'm waiting on them to send the edits back. And I'm sitting here going, oh, okay, they're probably going to ask me to do this or that or whatever. And he sent it back with 1 note. And it was just a very minor plot hole. It was like, oh, she mentioned something down here. You need to say it up here. Literally, that's it. And I was sitting there going, I wrote a story for Marvel Comics, but you only had 1 correction. Nothing else in the whole story. They didn't want to change shit. No spell, nothing else. And he was like, nope. I was like, okay, I guess I'm just going to assume I'm amazing then. Cause no, I never in a million years would have thought that they took no changes at all. They took it exactly how I wrote it. I was speechless.
That is so stinking cool.
I know.
I'm geeking out over here.
I know. I when I tell you I lost my mind, I could not believe that. I was like, wow, I actually wrote something and they didn't want me to change it. Oh, okay. But anyway, and so that came out in 2021, and then they contacted me, I think about a year after that. And they said, hey, we're going to do one for Sam Wilson as well. Is that something you're interested in? I said, oh, yeah, I love Sam. I mean, I adore him. He's such a great character. Same thing. So you do have to write about Sam from the comics and not Sam from the movies, but same thing. I'm just picturing Anthony Mackie the whole time.
Well, that's what he looks like in the comics now, isn't it?
He does. I was going to say, and usually when they have an actor that does a really good job, they will change the comic to reflect the actor, which I don't mind at all. And honestly, I think some of the stuff that they changed for Falcon, because Anthony Mackie is from New Orleans instead of from Harlem, I think a lot of it works. Like I like that they changed Red Wing to be like the little automated like robot.
Yeah.
I like seeing New Orleans through the lens of how he lived there when we were watching the Falcon and Winter Soldier series, and I like the changes that they made. Honestly, because like in the comics, his parents unfortunately were murdered separately too. That's the fucked up part. Like his father died. I think I want to say his dad was a cop or something to that effect. But his father died and his mother died separately. I can't remember if he has any siblings. And then in the comics, obviously he can telepathically talk to birds. And so that part is actually in my story, which was a lot of fun. So they didn't forbid me from telling you, so I can just give a brief recap. But mine is about they're transporting Crossbones from the raft over to ADX Colorado, which is a supermax prison from which no one has ever escaped, and that's real. And so they asked Sam, hey, can you escort the bus from the airport to the prison? Because we've been given a tip that somebody's going to try and get Crossbones out of the bus so they can break him out and, do crimes. And so that's what that story
is. That what it is? Do crimes.
Do crimes. And so it was fun because I got to pick, because same thing, they didn't really restrict me at all. They said, okay, well, I think the only restriction was hilarious. They went, don't curse. I went, oh. I mean, I don't think anybody cussed in my first one, but did somebody cuss in the other ones? To the degree that they literally wrote on the little thing of like, do not curse. So it was funny because I got to a point where I started writing the word jackass and I went, oh shit, wait, they told me. So there were like one or two curse words that I had to go back in my brain because I am a foul-mouthed sailor, as he knows.
I don't know what you mean. To be fair, you're not as bad as me. Nobody's as bad as me. So you're trying, but you're getting there.
I was going to say, I am so foul-mouthed that I actually had to sit down and go, what's the rated G version of how to say this? Smart Alec. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
There's a couple moments where I was like, I've been cussing so long, I don't remember what the rated G is. So that
is fantastic.
Yeah. But no, it was an honor and a lot of fun. I really look forward to when it'll be out in January, because I can't wait to read the other ones too. I think
yes, that's when we fit well together. Yes, when you meet somebody who you click with,
you meet one of your bees.
Indeed.
Folks, I'm actually kind of glad that I'm here with you guys because I did a lecture over the weekend and I was kind of hoping that there's a difference between writers and geek writers. And I was hoping that I was with geek writers. I wasn't. I was with regular writers. So my lecture, it's not like it didn't go well, but it didn't go as well as it would have if I was with geeks. So like being back around my people, I'm just like relieved because I was so uncomfortable yesterday.
But I mean, and that is the other part of it, because again, we've been on several panels together, but none of those have actually been about writing. They've all been all the ones that we've been on together have been about the fandom stuff, the geek stuff, and it terrifies me, frankly, how much you know about upcoming movies. I mean, I just say, oh yeah, I've heard something is coming along, and you go, oh yeah, this is happening. It's got this person in it. It's directed by this person, and I'm like, how do you know all of this? I just saw a 2-second clip of a trailer, and you can tell me everything that's going. I mean, so yes, you like your movies and your fandoms. I mean, how did that build itself in your mind? How did that take over your life? I mean, you've got Batman Beyond behind you, for crying out loud. Come on.
Yes, I was gonna say my friend. Oh, she's not in the stream, but she got me that, and I love her. Oh, I'm gonna pick it up just so you guys can see because it's so cool. So this is basically like an omnibus. It was the 25th anniversary, and look at how huge.
It's not 25 years old already.
Came out 1999, buddy. I know. It's mind blowing, but so she works at a comic book shop, and so she'll always like send me pictures of cool stuff that she finds. But she sent me this and said, "Hey, do you want it?" And I was like, "Are you sure? It looks expensive." She was like, "Oh yeah, but I have a store discount," and so she sent it to me. It's
That is so
fucking
awesome.
awesome. It's so cool, and I've really wanted it because it was really hard to collect them for a while because like there's been several lines of Batman Beyond comics, and so to have one where they just put it all, it's like. Ugh.
Whereas I'm just kind of having a midlife crisis here.
I know, and I was such a nerd. I was there at the premiere of Batman Beyond. I was a 10-year-old who actually saw it live when it premiered, sitting on my little floor. I just remember those opening credits and being like blown away. Oh, I love it. But as far as me getting into fandom, I blame my parents. Because I was a very nerdy kid. I read a lot and I was into geeky shit. So it just was the natural progression. I just grew up and I continued liking nerdy shit. So it's everywhere in my house. I have tiaras and posters and trinkets and all kinds of stuff.
You do your cosplay as well, don't you? You were Spider-Gwen last time, weren't you?
Mm-hmm. And so this fall, we've got Multiverse Con. I might be doing Hela and I might be doing Shigo. I haven't decided yet. But
My child's favorite is Hela.
Hela is that bitch. She was the best. Oh, she's in my top 3 villains for MCU. Easy. I adored her. And I have a tiara that's perfect for her outfit. So it just makes it even better. But yeah, so and Shigo, I just wanted you because I've always loved Shigo. I love Kim Possible in general, but like I saw the suit and I went, oh, I could be Shigo. She has long dark hair.
Oh, Kim Possible, my God, that's a name I haven't heard for a while.
And that's another one of like, I encourage people to go back and rewatch that show. It's so much better than you remember it is. It's really funny. Like Ron Stoppable, just such a great character. He was so funny. I adored him. He was just wonderful. And Will Friedle, so, you know.
Oh, we got to see. He was at Archon this year.
Yay! Good for you! Did you get to meet him?
Well, we didn't go. So we're in Kansas.
See, I'm with Chaz on this one. Yeah.
We had, so it was our Archon's 25th anniversary. And it was like, so our big headliner was Paul Bettany.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, never heard of him.
And I didn't see any releases of numbers, but I heard someone saying last year, so all in the same space. Last year we had 50,000 people. This year we had 300,000 people.
Wow.
Like so we ended up leaving early. Like we could not move. And so it was just really overwhelming. We didn't go meet any of the celebrities. We went to panels. So we saw, so the Boy Meets World, Brighter Strong and Danielle. And then the one you just said, I can't
Will
forget.
Friedle.
Thank you. He was so freaking funny. So funny. And then we saw Ian McDiarmid, who was the sweetest old man who plays, you know, Darth Sidious. Was fantastic. And John Rhys Davies, he was lovely. And he's like Gimli in real life. That's kind of who he is.
He walked past me in the most recent con that I was at. He was there. He was at Atlanta Comic Con. Yeah, it was Atlanta Comic Con because that's where I went to meet Jared Padalecki. And we're just standing in line. And I turned my head and I go, "That was John Rhys Davies! Holy shit!" Because it was so quick. But I was like, "Oh, that was him."
And
you see,
the Avatar: The Last Airbender panel was there. So that was super cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender. seems to be taking over my life at the moment. I'm playing an RPG. I'm reading more than novels. I've just bought more T-shirts. It's just
it's life. It is a way of living. It is such a great series. Oh my goodness.
I can't listen to Zuko without hearing Rufio though. Like
Right?
I see Rufio.
Right.
I can't.
It's so hard to separate those two. And it was so cute. I met him I met Dante Bosco back in 2015. And it's here. Yay. Actually, so what he wrote on my autograph, I don't know if you guys can see it because of the shiny. He wrote honor.
Oh,
That's so honor. I thought that was so fucking cute. He was so sweet. Oh, he was the sweetest. And also, I'm 5'8", so it's hilarious. Like when if you could see the photo we took together, I'm like a whole head taller than him.
Oh, really? Is he short? So
He's very short. He's really short. He's like 5'4".
I knew nothing about. I mean, I've only ever seen him as Rufio. That was the only time I've seen him in anything.
And I was gonna say he's around other kids, and he was the oldest kid out of that group. So nobody actually pays attention to the fact that he's real short. Yeah. But yeah, you see the photo op we took together. Literally, he comes up to my shoulder.
Can you talk a bit louder? I can't hear you from all the way down there.
I look like an Amazon next to anybody. I'm not gonna lie to you, because again, like I said, I'm 3 inches taller than the average girl's height. So like a lot of the times, I kind of look like Wonder Woman next to people. He was so sweet though. Yeah, he's the nicest guy. Just so nice. Oh my goodness. Will Friedle was adorable. So he and me and my friend have been Batman Beyond fans, like I said, since we were 10. And so he came to, I think, Dragon Con one year. And so she and I went up and met him. He was so sweet and so funny. And it's wild because I've been in love with Terry McGinnis my entire life. And so to hear it, that's his speaking voice. It's not like he doesn't deepen it like Kevin Conroy would do it just a little. And so like just talking to Terry was the wildest shit ever. Because I was just I'm still in love with him at this point. But yeah, he was the nicest. So he wrote on my little autograph. I think he wrote "I am Batman." I can't remember. No, I didn't have him sign the one that Kevin signed. It was a separate one. I had him sign one of my comics, and he just wrote "I am Batman" on it.
Yeah, Jules has a point. Only half in love with him. I don't know. I think you're more than half in love with him. You sound like you're at least 3/4.
Oh, if I said half, that was an accident. No, I'm fully in love with Terry. It's ridiculous.
That was me when we met Carrie Elwes.
Ray,
Carrie Elwes.
Oh, I would be too. Wesley.
So my husband and I met online, and his thing was Wesley Seeks Princess Buttercup, and he only talked back to people who knew what that was.
Yay! That's a good screening process.
Yeah. And so then Carrie's been to 2 of our cons, and we've got his autograph. Well, no, we just did it the first time, but he told me "as you wish" 3 times, and we did 2 pictures with him, and I stood on the same side of him both times. And this is really gross, but I mean, we're geeky fandom people, and so you'll get it. And I feel comfortable sharing this with my people. So since I was on the same side of him both times, my left shoulder smelled like his armpit. And I may or may not have been going around sniffing it all day.
So one of the questions I get asked so much, because I met Tom Hiddleston, how does he smell? I go, I don't know how to describe how he's good. He smelled good, but I can't there's not a specific scent. So no, I get that. People ask me that because I've met a staggering number of celebrities by now, but they'll be like, I don't know.
Yeah, every time you go to a new con, you come back with more photos of people you've hugged.
Yes, that is my goal. I'm this strong so I can hug all the actors and actresses. That's what I aspire to do with my life. They just need to know that they're great.
You got to hug Chris Evans. I mean,
the highlight of my life. That's so sad, but it was literally the highlight of my life. Oh God, he's another one of I'm actually kind of glad that his autographs were sold out by the time I found out about the con, so I could only get the photo out, because he's so handsome. I don't think I would have gotten any words out if I had been in that autograph table. You don't get it until you see him. Like when he's in front of you, it is It's blinding. Like, he is so fucking handsome. Like, you don't get it until you're there and you're just like, Jesus, how does anyone talk to you? Oh man, that was so funny. So that one goes, I don't know if you guys have ever, she's obviously done photo ops, but the folks in the chat, if you've never done one, photo ops only take about 10 to 15 seconds. So again, if you want to talk to a celebrity, you go to the autograph table. If you just want proof that you met them, you do the photo op. And so I am shameless and I don't care. So I was wearing the sluttiest outfit that I could find because it was Chris Evans.
Good for you.
I don't care. I am shameless. So I had on my little black dress and I had on my 4-inch stiletto heels and my jewelry and all my makeup and my hair was done and all that. And so the person in front of me goes and then they wave me over. And I go up to him and I'm always polite because you never know how they like to do photo ops. And I say, hey, is it okay if we do a hug? And he's like, oh yeah, that's fine. Puts his arm around me and they take the picture. Before he lets me go, he rubs the back small of my back, just a teeny tiny bit. I almost lost control of all faculties. Like I almost dead ass fainted in Chris Evans' fucking arms when he did that.
Hey,
it was
I would faint in his arms if he did that to me, frankly.
Holy shit. It was the sexiest thing that's ever happened to me. Again, really sad to say, but like, holy shit. That was...
I mean, that's America's ass right there. So come on.
Right, there you go.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, so that was just, I can't even, it's my eternal, every time I lose self-confidence, I go, but at least Chris Evans wanted to hit that. At least I can say that. I can say that about myself. He definitely was into me. I'm happy about that.
Got to say, on the list of sentences I expected to hear tonight, that wasn't one of them.
I'm sure it wasn't.
Yeah. At least Chris Evans wanted to hit that.
But you know me, I am brutally honest. I'm brutally honest.
You've changed. So to try and pretend that this is a writing stream as much as anything else, how does your nerddom, fandomish, all the geeky stuff, how does that influence the life of the author?
Oh, I am the queen of references, and I don't care. I make them all the time. I actually had somebody like, he was reading Of Cinder and Bone for the contest that I had put it in a couple of years ago. And I think he had to only have been in like 2 or 3 chapters, and he started complaining about the pop culture references, and I was like, oh yeah, well, you're just gonna hate this whole book because I'm sorry, that's me. I make nerdy references. I love to make nerdy references. So sorry, dude. But no, a lot of it has to do with like, I just love that feeling when you're watching something and you go, oh, I know what that is, or it's something that you already like. I noticed a lot with riff tracks because every once in a while they'll throw out a mention of something that I did not know they were aware of, and I lose my mind. So for example, I don't know which riff track this was, but there was a recent one and he mentioned SWAT cats. I went, oh my God, no one ever talks about SWAT cats.
SWAT cats was the best.
It was awesome. It was freaking awesome. But again, it's really not that well known because I think it has maybe 3 seasons, if that. But it was short.
I don't think it has.
I think it's just 2. Yeah, I might just have 2.
Okay,
but like, so
I think my husband was like showing us SWAT cats. Hold on.
You should. It's really good. It's actually a really good series.
Is this what it? Yes.
See,
hey, I know what I don't know what you're talking about, but I know what you're talking about.
Exactly. And so that's why I like to put it in my work. I like that feeling of when you see that little reference to something that you like or and you just go, oh, I like that too. Like I like the way that feels. So a lot of the times you'll just get I think my most recent reference. So the book I'm writing for Falstaff is about these 2 Korean siblings. And one of them is very, very, the older brother is very protective of the younger sister, but for good reason. They grew up together and their father murdered their mother, for God's sake. And so there's a lot of trauma there. And so he's just very, very overprotective of her. And so at some point I made a mention of Spy X Family or Spy Family, however you pronounce it, because Yoru's younger brother is obsessed with her. Like just super protective, but same thing. They grew up alone. So he's only ever had her. She's only ever had him. And so there's nobody else in his life. It's just his sister. And so I made reference because I just couldn't help myself. I was like, I love Spy Family. And 2 people are going to get what the fuck I'm talking about. But that's okay because it applies here. So I made the joke anyway, even though I know it's like super, super obscure. But yes, songs reference nerd shit. I throw songs all over the place. Music is a very, very big part of my life. So actually, several book titles in my Of Cinder and Bone series are from songs, and they're not even all in English.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just because lyrics have had a lot of thought put into them, and therefore, they.
I still think, from a writing standpoint, I think it's not fair that they don't let us quote things without paying for it. I still think we should be allowed to use either fair use or something else to just, even, I'm not saying lift entire soliloquies, but like just let people quote things. It's not fair. I think it's selfish to be like, oh, you can't quote Ghostbusters. I don't know. I tried though. I actually did try to procure the rights to put the Black Parade lyrics in the Black Parade. It didn't happen.
Oh.
I couldn't get the studio to answer me, but I imagine that there's probably, I'm sure until you're already like a Hollywood producer, they don't give a shit. Now, again, you can put it in there and just hope you never get caught, which I'm sure plenty of people have done. And I've done it myself. I just try not to do I remember an old rule somebody said is like, they think technically speaking, fair use counts for 5 words or less, something to that. I don't think that's true, but that's a rumor I used to hear. So every once in a while, I'll like cheat and be like, all right, well, I'm not that popular. I can sneak this little quote in here. I doubt anybody's going to notice. Maybe if it's just not terribly famous or something to that effect. But like, yeah, I mean, the odds that they give a shit to pursue me would be staggering. But I do also have bad luck, so I don't do it very often.
And what's next on the Kyoko train?
So I got to write book 3. We won't know when until he answers me. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm hoping it's going to be next year because I was like, oh, this book kicked my ass. It really, really kicked my ass. It was
why? Because again, considering how prolific you are.
No. It's not that so much as it's a couple things. One is I'm writing on a schedule. And so when I write books for myself that I self-publish, my writing schedule is a round number. I know that typically it takes me between 6 and 8 months to write a manuscript if it's going to be about 100,000 words. And so those other months are all dedicated to just editing and finishing and all the other stuff you got to do. And then you put the book out. And so for this one, I was given a deadline of January 1st to July 21st. And that's not a different amount of time. But because when I'm normally writing for myself, it's just when it comes to me. So I write in chunks. It'll be like, I'll sit down and write 4,000 words and then 2 weeks go by and then I sit down and write 6,000. It always goes that way. So I'm just used to the flow. Here, it's like, no, you have a specific deadline to hit and you have to write every week. Or if you don't write every week, you need to know what your monthly total is to hit. And then so if you don't write every week, then you just make sure that by the time you hit the end of the month that you have this number of words that are turned in. And so I was really good about it till about 45,000 words. And I hit the biggest fucking wall. I mean, Jesus, I didn't write for like 3 straight weeks or something. It's just abysmal. And so that's usually the point in my process where I get stuck anyway. I always get stuck between act 2 and 3. It's never 1 to 2. I always can do 1 to 2 on my sleep because that's where, like, when I'm building up actions, it's very easy. The word count's super easy because I'm, putting all the pieces. But then when you get to the climax and you have to do the denouement, oh, Jesus Christ. It always makes me stop. And so that's really why this book, and then the other half of it is that I'm a writer for hire. It's not one of the series that had John not picked that one, I would not be writing it. When I wrote it for NaNoWriMo, and I won the first year I wrote it, and I went, oh, perfect. Okay, I don't have to ever do this again because it was hard. But because I wrote that just for NaNoWriMo, I didn't like do the normal stuff that I do when I write a book, which is like all this hardcore research and making sure that there aren't any Deus Ex Machinas or like little lazy writing thingies, which I had to fix in that first draft anyway. But that's a book that I normally wouldn't be writing. And so the subject matter isn't one that I'm like super passionate about. I'm writing about it because it's entertainment. And so that's the other reason it was so hard is I would be like, yeah, but I'm not super into what I'm writing. It's just trying to generate scenes and stuff makes it way harder because you have to actually follow the thread of the story itself when you're no longer like I don't know how to describe that, but when you're not generating it the way that I do my normal work, I'm doing it for hire. So you have to kind of approach it more from a much more like distant standpoint. And so that's why it was kind of weird.
The chat is talking about getting drunk on books. So yeah, because Jules mentioned a book hangover, and obviously you've got to get book drunk before you get hangover. So yeah.
I had book hangover after I read Cold Days. It was Changes, not Cold Days. I was just inconsolable for like 2 months.
I'm not sure I know that one.
From the Dresden Files.
Oh right, yeah. I've only read the first few Dresden Files. I've got them here. I keep meaning to get onto the next one, but
don't. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I know that's bitter. I now no longer recommend that series to anyone.
Why? Because of what happened to Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually why I haven't. Because I've heard, and I'm like, do you know what? I don't know if I can be bothered carrying on. But the first few are good.
It is funny though. That's one of the ones where I kind of tell people a certain way to read it. It's like, okay, it starts very slow. Most people are like, oh, is it still good? It's because the first book is very solid, but 2 and 3 are like, they're kind of like the worst ones of the whole series. So a lot of people like, oh yeah, I really like it, and then they read 2 and they go, and then they read 3 and they go, and I'm like, okay, you got to get through to 4. When you get to 4, a lot of the shit that he fucked up that's in 2 and 3 like kind of straighten themselves out, and then 5 is kind of meh, but then 6 is like on it. So like it's one of those series of like it does take you a little bit to get into it because some of the earlier books are not quite as good as they could be. I think he was a lot younger at the time, and so he was still leaning into the noir a whole lot more when he was doing that part of the series. And so that's the other thing too. So people who don't know that Harry's chivalry jag is a character flaw, they just think that he's like that all the time, and we're like it's a literal character flaw that someone later exploits and he gets over it. But if you don't know that, you think that he's just like that the whole series, and it gets on your nerves. So that's the other thing. But again, I no longer recommend this series at all. But that's what I used to do when I would talk about it. Like, yeah, it's kind of you got to get through the first like 5, but when after you're there, it's like really solid.
So I've read the first 2. I can't remember. I can't actually remember what the third one is, but the second one is
Nobody Likes Grave Peril. It's easily the worst one. It is. There's no contest. It's not good.
So the second one was werewolves, wasn't it? And I thought that was
Full Moon. I actually don't have a problem with Full Moon. I've read other people do. I get it because he gets rescued like 7 times. So it's just one of those books where he's not really as active a protagonist as he is in the other ones. He's getting his ass saved a bunch.
A lot of Dresden Files gets made up for me just by the one scene in the first book where he's in a salt circle butt naked with a hard on with this woman who's drunk a love potion and just can't stop. That I will forgive anything, frankly.
It was the funniest. I never read anything that wild in my life. I remember because my brother gave me these books back in like I want to say 2015 or so. I remember the exact moment I was on the couch and I got to that scene and I just put the book down and start howling laughing because it was so like, oh, Harry, how did you get yourself into this?
I'm not in the mood right now. That's not what this guy's telling me. It's like
no.
It's just.
Just butt naked in a thunderstorm fighting a toad demon.
Yeah. So,
with a woman who accidentally ingested love potion.
How do they? Just got to read Storm Warning, and you'll be fine. Just.
It makes sense in context, I swear.
It makes perfect sense in context. If any of us here were to try and explain it, you'd look at us and go, what have you been smoking, and where can I get some?
Poco will never die. That's all I have to say.
Right, guys.
I'm trying to think of like the weirdest shit in Alana's book. and or any of them, the weirdest thing that happened. I mean, I'm sure there's something.
Well, you showed us your research last week,
Well,
so
but
that's
that's
pretty weird.
research. That's not. I mean, that thought process of research is not going in the book. The description of the product of the research is going in the book.
We're talking about dragonborn penises, just so everybody knows.
Okay.
So yeah, weird. You know, this is, we. I think if we could be accused of anything as a group, it would be we write weird shit, and we
But
talk
that's
about
the
it.
way it used to be. There was a quote somewhere. It was like, "Don't write books for everyone. Write books for 30 weirdos at most." I said, "Yes, I can get behind."
I like
it's
that.
Not, it's not weird. It's being accurate to the character.
Yes.
I'm being true to my character. And with the way that my brain works, I had to do research.
Hey, I gave up on trying to get my brain to work years ago. So,
Well, if you need me to do any research for you, let me know.
I will do just that. But I am starting to fall to pieces because I've got a cold. I've got man flu over here, which is less than helpful. So hopefully I will have recovered from that before I've got to get in a plane to fly to San Diego.
Yes, which I look forward to. So please, I can't wait to hear what a good time you have.
Yeah, well, we'll. I'm an Englishman. How long do you think I'm going to last in that kind of heat?
That is true. So please stockpile the, sunblock.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just going to bathe in it, I think.
Just drench yourself in it.
Kyoko, thank you so much for coming. We've been talking about this for quite a while, but then I mentioned it in passing yesterday. And said, "Oh yeah, I can do tomorrow." It's like, "Oh, okay, yes, you are. Oh, you can."
I know you actually found the perfect timing because I don't have to be at the office. Normally, I would be at the office, and I will be next week. But nope, it was finally a time where I got to be at home.
And Charles, that is actually
Yes.
a perfect way of describing writing. Yes. Yeah. Where can you be found, Kyoko? What would you like people to keep an eye out for?
All of my stuff is at shewhowritesmonsters.com. I'll write that in the chat. But yeah, so next thing is the fall staff book 1, which is called The Starlight Contingency, and that'll be out in the fall. And then the Sam Wilson anthology will be out in January. They moved the date back to correspond with the movie. So that will be out in January.
Okay.
What's the word?
Oh, sorry. I was looking at Kyoko's website. Sorry, I got distracted.
You can find Erica at RPG Play Therapy.
Yes, you can. That's where I can be found.
And you can find me on YouTube at the RPG Therapist or online at monomythcounseling.co.uk. And if you happen to be in California next week, you'll find me in San Diego at the Comic-Con. Not Comic-Con, the Comic-Con.
Yeah, the Mecca Comic-Con.
Yes,
If I don't make it back, it's because of the heat. My son keeps telling me I need to go. I have to go to a gun range. He keeps saying, "Are you gonna? Have you called the gun range yet?" No, I haven't called the gun range. Do you know why? Because I have this thing called shit to do. What are you talking about, child? But yeah, you never know. And let's hope there are no assassinations whilst I'm over there, because I can't be dealing with all the airports being locked down.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Cool. Right, well, as usual, guys, thank you so much for coming along, joining us in the chat. Thank you once again to Kroko M for being with us. Please come back. We need you. I'm afraid you're part of the family now, Kroko. So
I'll find another way to be here. I promise.
Make sure you do. Please join me in wishing Amber a speedy recovery. I believe she was ill. And Jen, I'm not entirely. Jen was supposed to be here, but I'm not entirely sure why she didn't.
Her child had an orthodontist appointment
Oh,
that was running insanely late.
Well, best wishes to Amber. Thank you again, Kyoko. And we will. Well, you won't see me next Monday because I will. Well, I'll be on a plane next Monday, I think. But you'll see, hopefully, Erica and Amber and Jen next week. Until then. Have fun, enjoy your writing. Thanks a lot,
Bye,
guys.
everybody.
Oh, she's gone.